gonna wait to get some people in there before I start yapping. All right. Well, there's one. Look at that. It took 35 seconds to get people in there. Man, you people are slacking. Just because I've been gone a couple of weeks doesn't mean you could be slacking like that. You never know when I'm going to go live. We went to New Orleans and then pretty much haven't, hello, Lila. Pretty much haven't done a whole lot since we got back from New Orleans. I think we did our podcast news show one time. But recuperating from our first vacation in quite a while. But yeah, so we went to New Orleans. Let's see. I was working on HW when I got the notification. Homework. Oh yeah. You're one of my students. I guess you got homework. Yeah. Busy on your homework. Well, if you're new to my channel, shouldn't be. You should know where you are. I should think so. You're probably a subscriber. You wouldn't know that I'm on the air at all. Fucking my hair still. Howdy, loving kindness domain. I'm Uncle Birch. I teach witchcraft for a living. That's my thing. I've got currently I have 4 year-and-a-day courses going at the same time, and a whole host of other classes hosted at gumroad.com/witchschool. WITCHSKEWL. I have entire the older year-and-a-day courses up there for download. You just download them and watch them at your speed. I've got a whole series in magical warfare and the art of, spiritual warfare, art of magical warfare, tarot, witchcraft without Wicca. So many classes going on there, but also the year and the day ones have been taking up a lot of my time. And since I'm doing that, that means every time I take on another class, that means I'm going to be getting a bunch of random questions from witches all over the world. More than I was getting, when I had 3 of them or when I had 2 of them. Now I got 4 of them. So I do this little thing. If you haven't seen it before, it's answering questions about witchcraft at the drop of a hat, without a net, without books, off the top of my head. That's my job. I mean, typically, if my students ask me a question, I have all the time in the world to look stuff up before I answer one of their questions, but I need to be on the ball. And out here on the internet, there's so much bullshit being taught in the name of witchcraft. I do this also as a community service to have some, some decent stuff out there. I get paid pretty well for my job, but I also do pro bono work. I do community service work like this. I do it for free. Here, there, everywhere. I just try to do it on beginner's Wicca and witchcraft, but nobody's way over there apparently, so I jump over here on my channel and we do it. So, if you haven't played the game before, there's just a couple rules. Try not to ask me a question when I'm answering a question. Try not to be too long-winded in your question, or I will miss part of your question. It's a good policy to copy your questions so you can paste them later, because I will miss them if I'm answering your question, and I tend to have more to say on each question than you ever bargained for, and things you never thought I was going to say, or that anybody would say usually. But I have a lot to say on most subjects with regard to magic, witchcraft, folk magic, even hoodoo, conjure, and sometimes we answer questions about Paula. Let's see, and here's our first one. Oscar. Ever read the book Kabbalah Magic and the Great Work of Self-Transformation? The book Frater used to become a ceremonial magician. Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the older Kabbalah books available back in the day. And yeah, Frater Xavier, one of his early studies. Yeah, absolutely. I had, but back then, there's 3 books on Kabbalah. And I think that was one of them. There wasn't a whole lot out there. There's a whole lot of material out there. I can't keep up with all of the new books, so I'm best answering your question with an old book that I know, and that is a book I know well. And good stuff. Oh, sorry, I was trying to make that notification get off of my screen. All right, Oscar, there's our first one. A lot of people saying hi still. Hello. Captain Freeman, hello. Please share any advice in legal accusations. All right. Let's see. I should probably have this available to like post it or paste it. But I believe it's Amazon.com/shop/freakphil1309. FREAKPHIL, and the number's 1309, just like my name here. It's either Amazon.com shop or Amazon.com store/freakphil1309. So you'll see it. Once you get there, it's going to say Uncle Birch's swag. I started making this Amazon influencers list because people are always asking me for my recommendations on books and medical products. And it was, better than off the top of my head every day. Why don't I make a list? Have that list publicly available for the people that know me and know my works. There's a lot I carry in my store, but over the decades of professional occult work, I'm pretty familiar with a lot of other vendors that have really good products that I don't necessarily do business with anymore. I'm not necessarily carrying their products, so I found that I'm doing this so long. I just look at these lists, like, oh yeah, that one. I know all this, so I have this huge growing list. Started with books, then went into products, magical products, herbs, or roots, oils, that kind of thing. I think the next thing I'm working on is herbs. I think the last thing I did was divination tools, tarot cards, all that kind of stuff. But in the books section, probably the whole thing that started the Amazon list was that I found that somebody was still publishing my Witch Mother's books, Judith Dufresne. Judith Dufresne owned still one of the oldest witch stores in the country. She has passed a few years ago, but the shop's still running. The Eye of the Cat, the place where I grew up, the witch store where I learned the craft. I learned craft. I learned, how to run a witch store. The place where I was being groomed for my entire future, apparently. I didn't realize that till decades that's what was happening there. But she wrote some books. These were the spell books that I grew up on. She published. And apparently they're still publishing them through Amazon.com. And the book you want to look for on that list is probably top of the list. Protection, Spells, and Charms by Jade. Jade was the pen name of my witch mother. Protection, Spells, and Charms was way beyond what we would call a protection, spells, and charms book in this day and age. I mean, it has curses in there. It has counterattacks in there. Old school witchcraft, the likes of which we do not see anymore. And in that book, only book I ever seen like it, she has 2 court case magics. One if you're innocent, one if you're guilty. And each one of these spells has a whole lot of wealth of information within it, lore and whatnot. But usually people are just doing, when they're doing court magic, they're calling justice. If you're calling justice and you are in fact guilty, you will learn why justice is said to have a double-edged sword. It will cut you as well. If you've got some karma or something coming that you haven't been delivered and you call for justice, that's when it's going to come. But Jade, she got one if you're guilty, one if you're innocent. When you asked your question, I forget who asked the question, that I think is the answer you need right there. And so it's not an expensive book. It's under $20. Oh my God, I was hoping you would be live today. I actually had a person, right as I was saying to Marta, I should go live because I haven't done it in so long. I got a message on Facebook from somebody asking when I was going to go live. It's like, oh, well, you're psychic clearly because I'm getting ready to do that right now. Although people ask me that all the time. What was that? Hello, Michael and Marta. Good to see you guys. You haven't seen Marta yet. Are you having a good hair day? Can I show you? No. I don't think so. Oh, she's got to let down her hair.
It's a dirty hair day.
A dirty hair day. Say hi.
Hi.
Oh, that was you. Oh, you're Captain Freeman. Okay. Jeremy. Yes. All right. I know you're Captain Freeman too. If you could post an Amazon link in the description when you get a chance, that would be sick. Yeah, I could do that. Let's see if Jamie's on by now. I know Jamie's got that link. Hi, Aunt Marta.
Aww.
She's got a nickname.
Aww. Hello to all you little snappers out there.
Jeremy, who brought the cats to the beach.
Oh, with the possum, had the possum.
Oh, wait.
That's the guy you said had
Jeremy,
the possum.
were you the guy with the possum? Oh, that was sad. I love that possum. Jasper.
Is that him?
But that possum got to spend, the best hours of his life with you. I think that was him, actually. Let's see. I'll answer in a second. Yeah, that was him. Oh, I love the possum. You're a sweet guy, Jeremy. Looking at possum. So yeah, that possum just wanted to, have a few good days or hours or whatever you had with it. And now, when you get to the afterlife, think of all the cats and the dogs and the possum now. Hamsters, whatever you've had, goldfish. I don't know how they're going to be in bowls up there. Or they don't need water anymore. They just swim around the sky. Oh, that's going to be nuts. That's actually true, man. We're going to be mobbed with animals. Let's see. But we had a cat that would frequent that beach. First cat, he was actually the shop cat. When we retired him from the shop, we lived right across from the beach, so he would hanging out there all the time. Let's see. What school does we primarily study practice? I don't know if I could limit myself to a school of thought that anybody else ever had. I guess the school of thought I would be coming from is extreme left field at all times. I would be saying the thing that you did not expect. Always. Any tips for increasing business and profits? Thank you, Birch. Sorry, somebody tried to call a spam call or something like that. One that I learned back in the day, actually the Eye of the Cat did back in the day, there was a money drawing spray. It had mint, patchouli, anise, and a lodestone in the batch. And they would, when the money came in, they sprayed the money before putting it in the register, cleansing the money of its other attributes, and then putting things on the money to draw more money. Money is a magnet to more money. If you have money on hand, you're going to draw more money. So I remember going back one time and seeing them do that. I go, oh yeah, I remember the Eye of the Cat used to trick that out. I know that spray. So we started spraying the money as it came in. Then there's also, tricking the money. It's kind of a hoodoo thing that I tweaked. They would take their dollars and write their initials over each of the numbers in the four corners, cross out the treasurer's name, and write their signature in there. And I just pretty much tweaked that. Instead of using your initials, you sigilize them. And the same thing, four corners on both sides, you got your little sigil on each one of those dollars. Whoa. And then if those, when those dollars go into the world, they're circulating with your sigil on them, bringing you more money. So you constantly, everything you're sending out is working for you. And the same thing with that spray. The money that you send out is working for you. Let's see. Sasha X. Hello, I'm back. I'm trying to conjure up some weird philosophical questions. Okay. You study alchemy or Kabbalah? Not that much anymore. Back in the day, we had to study a certain amount of operational Kabbalah because the circle, the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, that most witches had adopted into their practice, including my parent practice, was rich on Kabbalah. And you had to understand those names and everything. That wasn't classy, but needed it to happen. So yeah, don't so much study it anymore, but a certain amount of operational Kabbalah. Alchemy, not so much. I think I studied some back in the day. But I always remember a good story. Aleister Crowley had a student that came to him, and he wanted to get the alchemical secret of turning lead into gold. This was like, 1800s or some crap, a long time ago. So Aleister Crowley hands him a pencil. He says, okay, I want you to write me every week, write me a letter. I want you to include, $50 with each letter. And at the end of a year, probably a year and a day, I'll give you the secret. So the guy did that. All throughout the years, wrote him a letter, sent in his check. $50 is probably a lot of money back then, too. At the end of the year, in a day, the guy gets a letter back from Crowley. And it says simply, do as I have done. Now, pencils back then actually had lead in them. That really wouldn't work now because our pencils are made of graphite. But Crowley, he turned lead into gold. And that student got a valuable lesson. Valuable lessons often cost us dearly. That's how they become valuable lessons, is what it cost us to learn that lesson. So, $50 every month, 12 times. And then I guess a stamp too, whatever that cost back then. But that's just the kind of guy Crowley was. He tricked you, but when Crowley tricked you, there was a lesson to be learned. I always remember one of the ones, he has this one, I kind of think it was in Magic and Theory and Practice. He has you conjuring a demon. And you got the demon in there, and you're doing the invocation of the demon, and there's like one line in Greek. And Greek's easy to sound out even if you only speak English. So it's like it looks. And people just mutter through that line in Greek. But if you actually went and checked the Greek, which, now we could just Google that and find out and not be so stupid. The line in Greek said, and devour my soul utterly. So you called forth a demon, and then invited the demon to devour your soul. Because Crowley felt if you were stupid enough to speak in a foreign tongue that you did not understand, you should learn a lesson from that. And that's how Crowley would teach fucking lessons. The pain that those people went through, having a demon try and devour their soul, if they survived, you probably never made that mistake again. That was Crowley. Let's see, did I miss anything else? Liber Vel Jacorum? God, I don't even remember that one. But that sounds right. Thoughts on greed? Should this be something witchy people are concerned with as Christians focus on being wealthy? Well, see, that's part of the problem is Christians shouldn't be focusing on being wealthy because Jesus was not. So they're not Christians. They just need to stop calling them now.
Trump was ordained by God.
And now they say Trump was ordained. Anyway, I think at some point we need to stop calling them Christians. They have nothing to do with Jesus. Jesus would kick their asses. Jesus would fuck Trump up if he was around. Jesus was a rebel.
Like the family separation?
Oh, the family
Jesus
separation
would
and
not
shit?
be cool with that.
The anti-immigrant shit? These are not Christians. And Jesus was never focused on wealth.
They make menstruating girls and women bleed through their clothes.
Yeah. Now, I never focused on wealth. And as such, I was never wealthy. And then I changed my focus. We should get ours. I spent 20 years teaching for free. That's time is money. I still teach some for free, but I should get my money. And I do focus on wealth. And, definitely here in the heart of Hollywood, I am certainly harnessing all of this energy around me all the fucking time and use it for magic. This is all fucking money. This fucking landscape. Fame and fortune. Fame and fortune do not disserve me. They do not, harm my bottom line. I had a bad relationship with money because I was an anarchist for a very long time till I changed the way I focused on it. And as such, I have more money since then. I don't live paycheck to paycheck. Knock on wood. I don't even get checks anymore. It's all fucking digital. But weird things that I learned along the way that I'm still, I'll ever be trying to wrap my head around, but they make a lot of fucking sense. When I have had less money is when I have tried to save money, sat on my money, hoarded my money. When I acted like I didn't give a fuck, and we went out every fucking night, and we'll beat it. If we go out, we're locking down your table for a few hours. And some people be tripping. They expect to get in, get out, give me my fucking money. They bring the check early. It's like,
we're kind of slow.
Yeah, we're not done yet, honey. You take that fucking check back. We're going to make that check bigger. And as such, your tip's going to be bigger. And we tip well everywhere we go. And so everybody's nice to us. And, we're nice people. We treat our fucking servers well and shit. But when we do it, I try never to think about it. Sometimes I just, we went out yesterday, check was like, 100 and something before tip. It's like, that's fucking numbers. I ain't even paying cash. There's just some numbers I'm gonna write down on this fucking thing. I need to disconnect from that. If I sign that and I'm grudging, oh shit, I just gave up $100 in my that somehow that holds it back, but it's the law of attraction. I'm not talking your threefold law or anything, but the type of stuff you send out comes back. If you're throwing your money around, the money comes back. And it's tough. It's a tough thing to wrap your head around when you're trying to save for a fucking bill or something you want to fucking do. But whenever I try and do that, that's when less cash flow comes in. When I'm sitting on this, trying to make this become that, or become a certain fucking dollar amount, that's when less money comes in. But when I just throw it out like it doesn't fucking matter, wrap your head around when you're, if you're living fucking paycheck to paycheck and shit. But it totally falls in line with the law of attraction. And you can't, spend that shit begrudgingly. You just gotta fucking give it up. It's like, okay, we had a good time. We had good food, we had good drinks. This is the cost for the good food and the good drinks and somebody to keep serving us the good food, good drinks while we sat here. That is the fucking cost. I can't bitch about that. And they did a good fucking job, so here's their fucking part of the fucking cost. Can't fucking begrudge that. So I do focus more on that, and I do focus more on getting mine. And ever since I started doing that, I'm living a much better fucking life financially and every other way, really. Money, unfortunately, makes the world go round. Okay? If you have it, you're living a better life than if you don't have it. Even if you're just getting fucked up all the time, you're still living a better life than when you can't. Hopefully you're doing good things with your money that help you and stuff like that. The best spell books, somebody's asking. Well, I gave out earlier. I'll have to type it in later. Amazon.com/shop/freakphil1309. That's FREAKPHIL, and the number's 1309. And any book on there that is by Jade, specifically protection spells and charms, and I think love spells is there. She had a money spells book, and I put it up there. But somebody was trying to charge fucking $3,000 for it, which is ridiculous. And I don't even think those people own the copyrights. So I had to take that one down until I find a better link. But there's several spell books up there. But the ones by Jade are some of the most old school spell books you're going to find. Pre-Wicca, not, giving you all that hard shit, all that stuff. None of that happened in there. So I gotta say, my mom's books, not my birth mother, but the one I call mom, my witch mother, Jade, her books are the best. And I made a whole list just for that. Amazon.com/shop/freakphil1309. What makes spells work? There's a lot of things. I got a series of videos here. It's like how magic works. I think you need to watch those. There's a lot to it that can be spewed off. There's a lot of weird ways magic works. One constant in the universe, magic works with the power of irony. It's always a very ironic twist when the thing arrives, and it's be weird. You're gonna know. It's such an ironic twist. You're gonna know. Oh fuck, that's that. And if you did that spell in line with a particular deity or spirit or something like that, or an Orisha, somebody that reminds you of that being will be part of the mechanism of delivery. And you'll look and go, oh fuck, that person was Hecate, something like that. You'll know it. When it arrives, you're gonna know that was. Is that the thing's going to arrive exactly as you worded it, and maybe not exactly the way you wanted it. This is why intent is not the only thing that matters. There's a lot more to it than that. What does it mean if the mojo bag I've been wearing gets lost? Sometimes they go out into the world to do their things. Sometimes the world could still be in your house somewhere, could be in your car. A lot of times mine will fall out of my side pocket and I'll find them under the seat later. But depending on what the mojo bag is for, sometimes they need to do a little bit of traveling to do the thing that they need to do. Protection items frequently break or are lost when they absorb negative energy to serve their purpose. Well, first of all, I like to be very specific in negativity, because negative energy is a whole different thing. That's concerning when things break. Even like breaking glass for no earthly purpose can be a sign that there's a hex afoot. When your protection shit's breaking, you want to start looking for something like that. Watch my video, How to Break a Curse. There's like 3 different versions of that. You see, are you showing any of the symptoms there? I list all the common symptoms. That's hard to get it unclogged. All right. All right. I need help with motivation. Any advice? Oh yeah. There's a book called Urban Primitive. I should have it on my list, my Amazon list there. I'm pretty sure I do. But in Urban Primitive, they have a triple god and a triple goddess, artificially created urban deities, which a lot of us would call egregores. But specifically in male pantheon of deities there's this one called Sarge, and he's a drill sergeant. When you need to get out of bed, when you need somebody yelling at you, calling you a fucking maggot to do it, it's one of the few motivational deities I've seen, and that's kind of part of the point of creating artificial deity forms like egregores, is they're addressing a lack of that type of deity in any of the known pantheons. Because you find me another one, find me a pagan deity whose job is motivation, you're not going to find one. And most of the deities in that book are addressing a lack, a lack of deities in the universe that do that kind of thing. So Sarge, I recommend Sarge. Buy that book, Urban Primitive. It's quite a book, and beyond that, it's got entire magical systems for drawing energy from urban sources, which here, now that I'm a Hollywood warlock for now, I've utilized that to great extent. A subway tunnel can be a fucking source of energy, a river levee, definitely Hollywood Boulevard and shit right over fucking here. I don't even think they went there, but some of their ideas kind of showed me how I can draw off of those kind of energies too. So we're doing Ask Uncle Birch. We'll go a little bit longer, then we got to go do some adult stuff, parent stuff. Perhaps working with the fire element. Working with the fire element definitely helps for motivation. Motivation is one. Benefits of moonstone. Let's see. Psychic powers, intuition, everything associated with the moon, including love, can be accomplished by a moonstone. Thing I learned that I like to pass on, because we did it one time random. Mom used to charge a crystal ball with a full moon and a magnifying glass. Just like, burning ants when you're a kid with the sun. You get that little beam on there. And it's almost an incredible outcome when you see the crystal ball glow like it does from doing that. So one time, Captain whoever it is out there, Jeremy can attest, I hosted these full moon rituals for 13 years. I showed up, I performed a ritual. Sometimes I'd have people like Zarya might help, or we'd have our other priestess help, which was doing pentagrams in the different quarters, while I called the elements, I called the god and goddess, I called the quarters with a guitar and a song. And then everything in the ritual was sung beyond that. They did these rituals for 13 years. And every time they have like a little magic that we would all do in the middle of the ritual. And so one day, I went over to I think it was Rite Aid across the street, and I bought me a bunch of little cheap magnifying glasses. And over at the shop, I had a fuckload of moonstones. So they brought me a pocket of moonstones. In the middle point of that ritual, everybody got a magnifying glass, and we charged our moonstones with the magnifying glass in the way that I just described. Amazing the effect that comes from such a thing. You want to see a fucking moonstone glow with the fucking power of the fucking moon, man. It's amazing how bright these fuckers can get. I mean, that was always one of the ways that I was taught to find moonstones that wash up in the ocean under the moon. They're extremely white in the water. You can fucking find them in the dark. But then you focus that moon beam into a beam. It's fucking intense. Moonstones refract light like 30 fucking ways for each like eighth of an inch or some shit. It's amazing, amazing, amazing. Thoughts on necromancy? Captain keeps asking. I don't really, but as a Polaro, really that's what it's all about. It is necromancy. It is about working with the dead, calling up the dead, calling up your ancestors. So in that very important work, I guess we do my best. What day and hour are the best for consecrating tools? I'd say different. I mean, typically the full moon's good for most things, but let's see. The right hand is projection. The athame is typically in the right hand. The left hand's reception. Typically the wand in the left hand. So it would make sense to me for the waning moon to be a time to consecrate an athame. The waxing moon be the time to consecrate a wand. But that's just me. Let's see. Yeah, Captain, that's one of the only things I miss about Santa Cruz is that full moon ritual. We were just talking about it the other day. I can't really think of anything else. I mean, Olitas. You know, Taco Tuesday and Thursday at Olitas, and way of watching from the comfort of your table. We missed that. Living that, 3 houses from the beach. Missed that. Miss the convenience of the vacation home next to us, where I have an entire virtual graveyard of people probably still buried in that fucking yard because the plants just keep growing and nobody ever uproots the yard. Okay, 3 things we missed from Santa Cruz.
And the place we liked that opened after we left, the
Poor Tap House downtown.
And, the rotating restaurant Splash.
Yeah.
Those opened after we left.
What's the Hand of Glory I saw in the old Wicker Man movie? Well, the Hand of Glory in the old Wicker Man movie was...
stick your hand through
No, that's not sticking your hand through a glory hole.
Okay.
Do they have glory holes that are just for jacking?
Yeah.
Jacking holes?
Glory hose.
Glory holes? The Hand of Glory in the Wicker Man was, I believe, the severed left hand of a thief, and so the fingernails were the wicks. Probably smelled really bad, burning a fucking Hand of Glory, but that is the old school actual Hand of Glory spell. This day and age, it's more candles shaped like a hand, and I've actually made those candles myself to facilitate that.
What do they do?
Cut off the hand of a thief. I mean, usually they dug up the grave of a thief, cut off his hand.
Yeah, but what do you burn those hand candles for?
For a Hand of Glory. It's a protection thing. I think of the Wicker Man, they used it to keep the cop asleep.
Okay.
I don't really know of the efficacy of that purpose. The Hand of Glory was for getting ill-gotten gains and an extreme protection measure that I knew of, but there's probably, being a folk magic like that, there's probably other purposes for the Hand of Glory.
Glory hoe.
The Glory hoe. Let's see. Any thoughts on the Holy Guardian Angel? I mean, I've done the Abermelon operation and definitely, ended up in conversation with something, so I guess I believe in it. I don't think of angels in the New Age way of angels. Angels are not our few little friends, and I don't even know about us, if it makes sense for us to have a guardian angel. Because angels, the energies pre-existed Christianity, but as they come to us through Christianity, they become the thugs of God. God's a mobster, and those are his thugs. Those are the ones that are going to come smite your town and turn you into pillars of salt and shit. So So I kind of always wondered about that. So where is this guardian angel idea come from? It seems like the God in the Old Testament was kind of opposed to us and fucking with us all the time. And the angels did the dirty work. I would liken more the holy guardian angel concept to the concept of the higher self, the high spiritual version of yourself. I would connect it. Either it's connected to that or those personalities or those. I mean, that's where I would connect to it, is through my higher self. So is that the higher self that I'm interacting with, or an exterior force going through the higher self? I don't know. That's probably the best I can make that make sense right now. But yeah, it's just not my thing. Operational Kabbalah, which is borrowed from ceremonial magic, where it begins and ends with me, although probably worked those rituals back in the day. Most useful or favorite tarot spreads? Well, I guess the most useful, I guess, would be the yes or no spread. Because you're not really supposed to read for yourself. It requires too much interpretation, and either you're an optimist or a pessimist. You're going to foul your reading. Either you're going to tell yourself, the best case scenario or the worst case scenario. There needs to be a separation between you and the client. But the yes or no. Yes or no, you shuffle the cards, asking a question that could be answered by yes or no. Then you lay out, you're going to go for 3 piles of cards. We're going to look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now either you get an ace and you stop that pile, or you get to 13, you stop that pile. Go on to the next. 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 13, or the first ace again. Then the third pile, same thing. 3 aces is yes, absolutely. 2 aces is yes, but look at this third factor. This could be a problem or something you need to look at to make that yes manifest. 1 ace, not too likely. Look at these 2 cards. These are obstacles or something that must be fixed in order to turn that not too likely into a yes. Tarot is not predicting the future. It's predicting the future if we don't change anything. If we're just sitting on our ass, not doing anything, that's likely what's going to occur. Tarot is more to, most times, to give us a heads up. Hey, dog. He doesn't like to get his feet wet. Has he? Get up, buddy. Get up, you big lumbering mutt. Hi. But there, you can do that, the yes or no. I mean, and no aces is no. And maybe the remaining cards are going to give you kind of an indication of why no. Personal experience with nephrite jade. I don't think I know that stone. Probably one of the coolest ones was Lemurian jade, which wasn't from Lemuria. I don't even know it was jade, but even the least sensitive people touching this stone felt this little tingle on it. And I bought a batch one time and sold. I don't even remember what it was good for, but that particular jade you mentioned, I don't think I know. So the card that makes the total 13 is an interpretation. Yeah. Like it could even be, yes, in the tower. I was like, well, yeah, might work out, but then the tower is going to kick in. A lot of ways to interpret that, but we just came from New Orleans, and when my kid, 9 years old, suddenly started taking an interest in certain things and was interested in tarot. So we got him his little Rider-Waite deck, little mini Rider-Waite, under his pillow right now, just like Papa taught him. And then we we went out to some restaurants. We started, playing with the cards. Learned different things in the community. He seems fascinated by it all of a sudden. 9 years old. That's when shit happened for me. So that could be a thing. I don't know. It could be a family tradition. I don't know. My 23-year-old is just starting to come around and asking me about magic. And her name's Aradia, or Radia, however you're going to say that. But, so it starts showing this little game. Way back in Southern California. And the after hours parties were always great. Plenty of debauchery. I was polyamorous. Had a great time. But there was this game the kids were playing after hours with a deck of tarot cards. They called it the Never-Ending Story. Everybody was issued a hand of cards, I don't know, about 7 cards, something like that. And the first person took a card, laid it down on the table, and started a story based on imagery in the card. It could be the divination imagery that's associated with the card, or literally stuff happening in the pictures on the card. Next person, they pick out a card and they lay it down, continue the story. Each person continues the story by laying down a card. You can end up with subplots, side stories, eventually lead back to the plot. Other ways where you don't have a hand and you just take the top card off the deck and put it down. You have to continue the story. Regardless, you have to somehow, and you can be as long-winded as you want, to make that card turn out as part of the plot. But it makes you very creative with your interpretation of the imagery within these cards. You start to see these cards beyond what that little book's going to ever say that those cards mean. You're going to have stories associated with those cards from one time that you played that game. And that card's now going to mean that too when it pops up. Your cards need to have more imagery to go on than that little fucking book. And you should never get hung up on that little fucking book. So I'm looking at this game. Even back then, I was teaching witchcraft. And everything that I fucking look at to this day, I immediately think, how does that apply to witchcraft? What can I do with that in witchcraft? So start using that game as an instructional aid to the tarot cards. And it can greatly expand your the imagery that you have within each card. Each one of your cards is going to have a lot more it can possibly say when you pick it up, rather than those, 3 sentences one way and 3 sentences inverted. That's not enough. My cards have a broader world to answer to. So that, the Never-Ending Story, brought to you by the kids at the tarot card, turned into a tarot teaching method by your dear, dear, dear Uncle Birch, because that's just the kind of shit I do. I just pass that on to you. Now more people will do it. Wow, no, all these acts today. Well, there was a rapper, and then Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch, the person who did that, died, and then I didn't know who that was, but another one just died. Here in Hollywood, whenever somebody famous dies, it's, it's bad that they died and all that, but we immediately think of ourselves. Yeah. How's that going to affect traffic? Where is their star on Hollywood Boulevard? There's a map, so we'll look it up.
And there's always traffic here.
Yeah, and there's always traffic anyway, so just a little blip on Hollywood Boulevard, like a movie premiere, and they shut down a piece of it, or somebody dies and people are going to gather at their star and put flowers and that kind of thing. We need to, figure that out and map around where the traffic's going to be. So I would hope that the person that did Big Bird and stuff got a star, but I don't know. They're backlogged on a lot of those stars. We're doing Ask Uncle Birch. We'll do let's say 3 more, because there's stuff that we got to go do. It's been so long since I did this. I figured we got to get out here and do this. I'm on a teaching frenzy over there at gumroad.com/witch school. WITCHSKEWL. And what was I going to say about that? So I have like 4 year-and-a-day courses going on, probably getting ready to schedule the next one. Probably have to be after the holidays. We got a lot going on, and the holidays is a terrible time to schedule a class. But then I have the downloadable courses. I have an entire year-and-a-day course that's downloadable at a cut rate, and I have an advanced course that's downloadable. I think I even have a package of both of those courses together at a reduced rate, because a lot of the millennial witches, they don't want to take a year-and-a-day to do anything. They want to binge watch. So we give the people what they want. We have binge-watchable classes. If you have any money program on Gumroad, that is probably the next one coming. I'm working on that. I got all the material together. I just really got to sit down and shoot the damn thing. But now that we're back from New Orleans, that'll probably be up there soon. So when you get over there to Gumroad, set yourself up an account, subscribe, and then you find stuff out. I don't tend to spam people too often unless I have some new course coming up or a new thing coming up. I tend to forget even to do that, the marketing a lot of times. So you won't get a lot of junk mail from me, but you do get notifications, I believe, when I put a new thing up. Let's see, what did Oscar say? Nice videos soon coming out. Okay, yeah, I believe that's the next one I have coming out. And then I got to get back to Witchcraft Without Wicca. I was midstream in that, and then I had to put all my energy into the year-and-a-day courses, and still, you're just getting up to spell work in the Witchcraft Without Wicca course. However, the year-and-a-day course that I'm currently teaching is Witchcraft Without Wicca, but it's malleable. I have students that are doing a whole God and Goddess thing. I have students that are doing more of a spiritual ancestor thing. I have students that are looking at it as a more scientifical thing. And all of those tend to work under the umbrella of our system. They are still us, even though different versions of us have different beliefs and different practices. We're all singing Kumbaya, skipping through the meadows together. All right, I think that was one, so that's 2 more for Ask Uncle Birch. A little sniffle still from New Orleans. We never get colds around here because my wife's a Chinese medicine doctor. She doses us with all this stuff at the first hint of any sniffle or anything, and it kicks its ass right away. But most of those things are liquids, and we want them getting confiscated by TSA. So we went to New Orleans without our ammunition. I've been taking the initial defense a couple times a day. No, it has helped. It's just I think I just got a little sniffle left. I don't even really think I had much of a cough today. I passed it. How much of a tarot pack do you personally reverse, if any? I want my cards to have more to go on, but just because a card lands reversed doesn't mean I'm going to read it reversed. After all these years, there's a certain flow there's a certain pattern, and if the inverted card breaks with the pattern, I'll flip it back over. And sometimes if the non-inverted breaks with the pattern, I'll flip it over. There's a flow to the story, and I can see the chinks in the chain. But wow, Deep Space Nine actor died. That's what it was. Where am I going with that? The thing that I like to teach in my right here on this channel, the non-basics of tarot. I think it's 2 classes. You should watch that. I'm gonna say a bunch of shit that nobody ever told you about tarot. And I'm probably not going to say anything that you ever heard about tarot because I hate doing that. I hate just repeating other shit that people say. My own angle, always, usually from left field. But in that, I find myself saying a thing that I think is a no-brainer that I've never seen anybody say in any tarot course. If you're going to read reverse cards, every time you cut the deck, you got to flip a hand. You got to be flipping it. You got to be making the reverse happen with the randomality. So every time you cut it, this hand's going to reverse. Then you're going to shuffle it. Then you're going to cut it. This hand's going to reverse. Then you're going to shuffle it. If you're not doing that, the randomality of the reverse cards isn't really happening. It's happening from, months ago when you once reversed something. That's not, if we're going to be shuffling, we're trying to make the cards land in a random order. And if we're going to be reading reversed, we need to be reversing half of our hand with every shuffle. And countless tarot courses I've sat through, it seems like they all need to say that. I never saw anybody else say that. So I just said that. You got to flip a hand, or it's pointless. You're not going to do that. Don't read anything reversed, because you did not randomize the reverse cards. Let's see if I'm missing. Okay, we got one more. Let's see. They're having some sort of discussion over there. Let's see. Great to see both of you again. Great show, Uncle Birch and Aunt Marta. Merry meet, merry part, merry meet again. And merry meet, merry part, merry meet again to you, Captain Freedom, Jeremy, and whatever cats you still have. Your new cats. Blessed be to your possum. You are loving him too. So hopefully they can feel that. The possum is getting love through social media all the way up to its dying day. The possum led a solitary life before that.
It was a really pretty possum.
It was a really pretty possum. I mean, she's really holding on. I just kind of thought, oh, you probably hold it. You're sure it's not playing possum though, right? It's been a few days. Yeah. Those would be possum. Yeah. That'd be an Oscar.
I saw a possum that I thought was dead. A dog came up to it and started sniffing it and nudged it a little bit with its nose, and it was totally lifeless. Yeah. And so the dog walked away, and I kept watching it, and eventually the possum got up and walked away, and I was like, that was fucking good.
Yeah. You see, that won't work with a cat.
Yeah.
Cats love to play with a carcass. I've seen our cats with a dead gopher flipping it in the air, throwing it around.
You do that with possums. Too heavy.
Yeah. It depends on the cat. They're pretty much the size of a large rat.
Possums?
Yeah.
Oh no, the possum's probably bigger than our cat.
Still, they might bat it around.
The possum that I saw was big.
Yeah. They can be scary when they hiss at you and stuff.
We used to have one walk through our cat door and hiss at us. And we gave him our cat food.
Man, the nerve. Come in and eat the cat food and hiss at you? All right. We're going to see if we have one more question. We're at the 59-minute mark. All right. So we'll see if we have one more question. If not, then we'll get going. I'm sure I'll be back here, there, or somewhere else doing the Ask Uncle Birch. But hadn't done it in a while, so figured got to get out there and do it. Someone asked, does practicing magic lead to personal instability and imbalance? What would we look out for to prevent this? It can. In the beginning stages, whether recognized by the system you're in or not, my system was very big on specifying this thing. The initiation process follows an elemental process. In my system, in the system I grew up with, um, first degree initiation was a year and a day's worth of air shit. Second degree was a year and a day's worth of fire shit. Third degree was a year and a day's worth of water shit. And sometimes there was a space between those. 3 years and days. Huh? No. Well, no, some people do like wickening first as an earth. I mean, technically the black cord that we do is technically earth, but that's not really an initiation. It's more they're doing a self-dedication.
Yeah.
But in that, yes, they are pretty much starting in earth.
Yeah.
But the first degree initiation's air. Then we go water for priesthood. Then
I thought fire was teacher before the priesthood.
I did fire.
Oh, no, you didn't.
I did.
You did?
I said second degree was fire shit.
Okay. Teacher stuff.
Yeah. Teacher stuff. Then third degree is priestess. Fourth degree is high priestess, which is longer than a lot of people's systems too. We have that extra one, but it was kind of specified. So like during this process, there were times when I had all of my belongings destroyed by air, by fire, by water, and then by mud. And the last one, really, our high priest, all of them at the same time. I got, destroyed by air, fire, water, earth. One might look at that as an instability, but it was an ability. With each one of these, after going through the trials and tribulations of each elemental process, then came the benefits. But first came the trial and tribulations, then came the benefits. So part of what, I later come to realize, the physical possessions that were taken away from me at each point in that journey were only things holding me back. And when I got to the final part of that journey, I was moving into a life where I couldn't have much physical possessions. And I literally wrapped my ritual tools and my tarot cards up in a piece of silk. I handed them to a friend of mine, saying, I'm going to see you later after about a year or two, and I want you to hold on to my ritual tools for me. And I can't imagine anybody I would ever do that with, except for that guy. But sure enough, the life that I would lead for the next couple of years, I could have only what could fit into a guitar case. I have one of those back guitar cases, but I couldn't have a whole lot of baggage for what was coming next. So while seemingly traumatic, the wisdom of the universe was absolute and perfect, as it always is. And it won't be until hindsight that we will ever see that. When we're going through those things, it will be the most traumatic experience you've ever had. And those things that you will lose will be painful. But if it's anything like my path, they were things you didn't really need. And they were holding you back. And sure enough, when I came back, and I was, ready to, be done with the traveling and be somewhat more settled down, at least, in Santa Cruz, that guy appeared again. He said, hey, come out to my car. Open his trunk. Handed me back my ritual tools. And never forget that guy. It was a perfect decision, and it worked out perfectly. And in that, my wisdom was in line with the universe. My wisdom at that point in time was as perfect as the universe. Everything that I went through was perfectly designed for what I would have to go through after that and to get me ready for what would come next. Though seemingly at the time, unstable, tumultuous, traumatic, but the stability, the balance came afterwards. Now, in the origin tales that my tradition speaks of this solar system where we live, that's absolutely what it was. It was chaos, it was trauma, and at a certain point, everything in the solar system reaches a balance and an equilibrium, and everything runs as it should from that point further. But at first, it was a big molten mass of fucking chaos. Now look at it. Working just fine. A lot of times you gotta go through that shit. Gotta go through the fire to get to the other side. And I ain't saying go out and walk on coals or anything like that. You were a great crowd as usual. We'll be back whenever I randomly decide that we'll be back. Either on this channel or on one of my Facebook pages or another Facebook page. And you'd like, look around. You never know. We can be here, there, everywhere. And hopefully, Tuesday, we'll be back for mornings lately. So I'm not sure when our news show is going to be happening, but hopefully Tuesday evening this week we'll be able to do Twitter and all that kind of thing. So, thank you for joining us. Merry meet, merry part, merry meet again.